McLaren's 2026 car might already be doomed and it hasn't even hit the track yet. New FIA data exposes a hidden design flaw that could destroy their top-speed performance, and Piastri and Norris are already feeling the heat. While Red Bull and Mercedes are quietly pulling ahead, McLaren's engineers are scrambling and the clock is ticking before the first test. You won't hear this anywhere else. If you want the real story behind F1's biggest technical war, smash that subscribe button and stay ahead of the grid. The FIA's 2026 regulatory shift was meant to create balance, but for McLaren, it might be the first warning sign of a looming crisis. The latest technical findings from the governing body don't explicitly name teams, but industry experts and insiders familiar with McLaren's development direction believe the Woking-based outfit could be among the hardest hit. The new rules require teams to embrace a radically different philosophy, one that demands flexibility, energy efficiency, and seamless active aerodynamic transitions. Unfortunately for McLaren, their current 2026 concept may not tick all those boxes. One of the biggest red flags lies in the area of aerodynamic adaptability. With the introduction of active aero systems becoming mandatory, teams must now design cars capable of switching between high downforce and low drag modes in real time. This places huge strain on the floor design, suspension geometry, and airflow management. McLaren's current concept, based on legacy 2025 architecture, was optimized for stable downforce, not dynamic transformation. That legacy thinking could now be their undoing in a regulation cycle defined by adaptability and aero flexibility. Another major issue comes from the energy deployment system, specifically the MGUK and battery cooling layout. With the new regulations placing a greater reliance on electrical energy now making up 50% of total power output, thermal management becomes everything. Early feedback from McLaren's internal testing and simulator runs suggests their cooling layout underperforms in high-efficiency engine modes. If the battery overheats or power limits get triggered during key overtaking phases, that's not just a minor loss, it's race damaging. Compounding the problem is the chassis packaging. The FIA's findings highlight the need for tighter, more compact designs that allow better energy routing and active cooling airflow. McLaren's early mock-ups, however, suggest a slightly wider rear end and more traditional side pod approach, great for airflow stability, but inefficient under the new hybrid energy distribution requirements. This may sound like a small design decision, but in modern F1, that can translate to seconds lost over a race distance, and in 2026, that's the difference between the podium and P10. There's also a psychological element starting to creep into the factory. Internally, the team knows they're behind the curve. Engineers, while trying to remain optimistic, are reportedly voicing concerns about time pressure. Resetting a car concept this late in development, under cost cap restrictions and limited wind tunnel time, could force rushed fixes instead of strategic redesigns. And in Formula One, reactive design rarely beats premeditated engineering, especially when other teams like Red Bull and Mercedes are already executing their 2026 projects with surgical precision. From the outside, McLaren still looks like a team on the rise. Strong finishes in 2025 and a resurgent driver pairing have brought back hope. But that public image hides the complexity of what's happening behind the scenes. The FIA's findings haven't just exposed a technical gap, they've revealed a strategic vulnerability. McLaren placed their bets early. Now, the game has changed, and they're stuck playing with the wrong cards. What's most concerning is the lack of runway. With just over a year before the 2026 season opener, the window for change is narrowing by the day. Unless McLaren acts quickly, decisively, and with total alignment from top to bottom, they may find themselves locked into a concept that's already a step behind before the lights even go out in Bahrain. Inside McLaren's Woking headquarters, the tone has changed dramatically. Just months ago, confidence surged through every department, fueled by a strong 2025 campaign and optimism around the new technical regulations. But following the FIA's latest findings, that confidence has been replaced by concern and, in some rooms, outright panic. Senior figures now face the daunting reality that their current 2026 development path may be fundamentally misaligned with the demands of the new era. For a team that prides itself on precision and resurgence, this is a brutal wake-up call. Team principal Andrea Stella is now under the most intense scrutiny since taking the reins. Sources inside the technical department say he has ordered a full audit of the 2026 chassis concept, with particular focus on the energy integration model and rear aero platform. This is not routine, it's a full intervention. Stella, known for his calm and data-driven style, is reportedly holding daily briefings with senior engineers and aerodynamicists to identify where the team went wrong in interpreting the early regulatory drafts. At a boardroom level, CEO Zach Brown has entered the equation, and that signals a shift from technical correction to strategic reassessment. Brown, who has led McLaren's commercial and branding revival, now has to address a deeper issue: performance risk. While his public messaging remains upbeat, internally he's asking hard questions about decision-making processes, resource allocation, and whether the team underestimated how aggressive rivals like Red Bull and Ferrari would be with the new regulations. This isn't about panic, it's about accountability. What complicates matters further is the cost cap. McLaren does not have the luxury to throw unlimited resources at a redesign. Any pivot now must come within strict budget limits, forcing the team to choose between performance upgrades for the remainder of 2025 and structural changes for 2026. According to internal financial reviews, the team has already burned through a sizable chunk of its allowable aero and wind tunnel hours for this development phase, meaning any late fixes will require careful prioritization or painful sacrifices. The human cost is also starting to show. Engineers are working longer hours. Deadlines have been pulled forward. And with pressure mounting from above, the risk of internal friction grows. Multiple insiders have reported disagreements between the aero and thermal management teams, some pushing for an immediate shift to a slimmer cooling concept, others warning that such a change could trigger new airflow instabilities. When timelines shrink and stakes rise, unity becomes harder to maintain, and right now, unity is exactly what McLaren needs. Compounding the stress is the communication challenge. McLaren must now decide how much of this internal turbulence to reveal publicly. Say too much, and it looks like a crisis. Say too little, and sponsors, media, and fans might feel misled if performance collapses in early 2026. For a team that's rebuilt its public image on transparency and grit, walking that line will be as strategic as any race weekend. The PR team, marketing heads, and technical liaisons are reportedly coordinating tightly to keep the narrative controlled, but even that facade is starting to strain. The bottom line? McLaren is no longer steering from the front of the 2026 development race. They're reacting, and in Formula One, that is a dangerous position to be in. Whether leadership can realign the entire team in time will define not just their success in 2026, but their trajectory for years to come. The pressure is real, the clock is ticking, and the paddock is watching. While McLaren scrambles to correct course, their top rivals are accelerating, and doing so with ruthless precision. Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes haven't just interpreted the 2026 regulations early, they've embedded those principles deep into their 2025 structures. The FIA's latest data leaks and technical bulletins confirm what many feared: the teams at the front of the grid are already integrating active aero systems, new hybrid maps, and aggressive cooling designs that are far more advanced than McLaren's current model. Red Bull is the most obvious threat. Insiders close to Milton Keynes suggest the team's 2026 prototype is already running simulations with a twin-mode rear-wing design capable of switching drag profiles based on GPS corner mapping. This system allows Max Verstappen to maintain higher exit speeds while preserving energy for straights, a critical advantage under the new rules, where battery deployment must be micromanaged across the lap. While McLaren focuses on correcting thermal inefficiencies, Red Bull is already optimizing race strategies around full regulation compliance. Ferrari's approach, as always, is power unit-centric. Their Maranello-based development team has reportedly made huge strides in rebalancing the internal combustion engine with the electric motor's 50% contribution requirement. What's most notable is their progress with energy recovery during braking phases. By using a revised MGUK design, Ferrari appears to be regaining power far more efficiently under heavy deceleration, something McLaren simulations currently flag as inconsistent. This efficiency could allow for more aggressive cornering without sacrificing acceleration, a lethal combination in 2020 SIX's high-balance environment. Mercedes is taking a more conservative but no less dangerous route. Rather than gambling on bold aero systems, their Brackley outfit has focused on perfecting energy consistency across long stints. The team's hybrid software is said to use machine learning models that analyze battery discharge rates, temperature thresholds, and driver throttle inputs across hundreds of simulated race scenarios. The result? A car that may not be the fastest in qualifying but will be brutally consistent on Sundays. McLaren, meanwhile, is still struggling to stabilize energy delivery under pressure. There's also the issue of infrastructure readiness. Red Bull and Ferrari have both invested heavily in 2026 specific wind tunnel setups, with new aero mapping protocols tailored for the FIA's dual-mode system. McLaren's wind tunnel upgrades, while substantial, were calibrated for their 2023-2025 concept range, meaning adjustments now would come late, costly, and possibly inaccurate. This gives the top three teams a critical development advantage: data resolution. The more refined their feedback loop, the faster their evolution cycle, something McLaren desperately needs but currently lacks. These three rivals also benefit from strategic driver feedback loops. Verstappen, Leclerc, and Russell are not just fast, they're deeply embedded in the development process. Each one is already testing modified steering wheel interfaces and active aero triggers in simulators. McLaren's drivers are involved too, but feedback alone can't overcome hardware limitations. Until the team finalizes a stable baseline, their simulator data will lag behind, which means even their best insights are delayed in application. In F1, that's a death sentence. The gap is no longer theoretical. With each test, each simulation, and each regulation clarification from the FIA, the top teams are separating themselves. They are no longer just reacting to rules, they are mastering them. And while McLaren is still debating architecture and cooling philosophies, the others are preparing race strategies, overtaking models, and qualifying maps. If this continues, McLaren won't just struggle in early 2026, they'll be locked out of title contention before the season begins.